안녕하세요 여러분. 오늘은 정말 특별한 인터뷰를 준비했는데요. 월가 애널리스트를 직접 만날 수 있는 소중한 기회가 있었습니다. 그 주인공은 바로 스트래티지를 전문적으로 분석하는 클리어 스트리트의 브라이언 덥슨 애널리스트입니다. 이번 미팅은 2025년 5월 20일 뉴욕 현지 시간 오후 4시에 맨하탄에 있는 151 나스닥 본사에서 진행했고요. 스트래티지 2배 레버리지 인버스 ETF인 MST와 MST 지상품으로 유명한 렉스셰어즈의 초청으로 이루어졌습니다. 과연 브라이언 덥슨은 스트래티지와 비트코인 그리고 시장 전망을 어떻게 보고 있는지 지금부터 한번 들어보고요. 제가 후반부에 몇 가지 질문도 했습니다. 감사합니다.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us. We're very excited to be here with Rex and KB Securities. I'm Brian Dobson, and we're very excited to walk you through Strategy, formerly known as MicroStrategy. We're very excited to be covering the stock. We picked up coverage about 2 months ago, and it's part of our broader coverage within data centers. We cover Bitcoin miners pivoting to high-performance compute, and Bitcoin treasury models, such as Strategy. So as of May 2025 now, we maintain a buy rating and $466 target on the stock, which we believe reflects meaningful upside from both Bitcoin appreciation and capital markets execution. So our outlook on Strategy remains positive. The company provides unique leveraged exposure to Bitcoin while continuing to run a legacy enterprise software business. At current levels, we see compelling value underpinned by 3 core pillars: Bitcoin appreciation, capital markets execution, and Bitcoin per share accretive treasury operations. So turning to our investment thesis, Strategy is the largest corporate holder of Bitcoin globally. Its dual business model consists of a legacy enterprise software business and its Bitcoin treasury operations. With inclusion in the NASDAQ 100, very apropos considering where we are, the company has high institutional visibility and continues to pioneer new approaches to balance sheet optimization and digital asset monetization. On the operating side, Strategy's legacy business offers AI-driven business intelligence and analytics solution. It's currently undergoing a broader cloud migration, but it's important to remember that this accounts for only $4 of our $466 price target. So it's not really a driver of our outlook. The real driver has been its Bitcoin treasury strategy, aggressively acquiring Bitcoin using capital raised from equity, convertibles, and preferreds. Management raises capital effectively, redeploying it to purchase Bitcoin, driving long-term shareholder value through price appreciation, spurred by incremental Bitcoin per share, more than offsetting dilution from the capital raises. This model creates an embedded call option on Bitcoin that's actively managed. So let's take a quick peek at Bitcoin treasury operations, Bitcoin holdings. As of the first quarter, Strategy held roughly 553,000 Bitcoin, and we're forecasting that reaches 815,000 coins by the end of 2026. The average acquisition cost of those coins is roughly $68,000. Our target for this segment is driven by a projected Bitcoin price of only $109,000 in 2026, which makes the forward valuation per share from Bitcoin alone $239. That's a very conservative estimate, and certainly one we could reach later this week, considering Bitcoin's recent rally. Now, we use a conservative Bitcoin estimate for an important reason. It highlights the real value of treasury operations, which drive incremental Bitcoin per share in excess of dilution. Strategy's proven its ability to do that, and so long as it maintains its MNAV premium, should be able to generate Bitcoin per share growth moving forward. So this is where Strategy really separates itself. Year to date, the company has raised over $27 billion via a mix of equity and debt offerings, and has shelf capacity of up to $57 billion. That gives the company unmatched flexibility to grow Bitcoin per share, which we view as a proxy for earnings. So let's talk about that Bitcoin yield as an EPS proxy. And this is probably the most important aspect of our valuation of the shares. So Strategy is not just acquiring Bitcoin, it's doing so in a way that exceeds dilution from the capital raises. So we estimate that Bitcoin yield for 2025 is around 24%. That's incremental Bitcoin per share net of dilution, and around 11% for 2026. This translates to roughly 20,000 incremental Satoshis per share. So 20,000 Satoshis is about $20 US, and that expands by 10% in our model to $22 per share in 2026. We view this as a Bitcoin-based earnings per share proxy, and it's key to the valuation. Given the considerable growth in Bitcoin per share, we believe that 9x multiple is warranted on this, again, EPS proxy, if not somewhat conservative. And as such, it yields a value of $223 per share for the company's treasury operations. So looking at the financial summary, this slide pulls together the pieces of the three aspects of the business. The legacy software business contributes modestly, $480 million of revenue in 2026, adding $4 per share. But the majority of our valuation is tied to Bitcoin holdings and yield operations. So our valuation assigns $239 to Bitcoin holdings and $223 to the company's ability to generate incremental Bitcoin, which we see as valuable in the same way that you'd put a multiple on forward earnings growth of any traditional company. The stock's currently trading at just 1.88 our 2026 MNAV, and that's projected MNAV. That's not the MNAV that you might find on Strategy's website, but instead on our forward earnings and Bitcoin stockpile, and about 1.45 on the company on our projections for 2027. We think that's attractive. It's well below the historic average of roughly 2.25, and suggests meaningful further upside from current levels. So we'll briefly discuss the risks on the stock. Those include a steep decline in Bitcoin, regulatory changes around holding Bitcoin at the corporate level, or dilution from further capital raises were the company to lose its MNAV premium. However, we think that the company's active capital management and transparency mitigate many of these concerns. Yeah, I think that's a very good question. You know, it's always difficult for a securities analyst to separate what is, call it, crafted public image of a management team and how they really behave behind closed doors, and whether or not they're, call it, good players, right, or strong players. And I found that in the many months that we've communicated with the firm, they've always dealt with us very fairly in a very straightforward manner. They've told us good news and bad news. They've pointed out things, particularly as we were ramping coverage, they'd point out things that might be accretive to value, but they've pointed out many things that certainly detracted from our forward outlook on the stock, right? And I think that that's a mark of an honest player, right? Rather like an honest broker in terms of a management team, that they'll be straightforward with you and not want to, call it, overhype their stock for simply the purpose of trying to drive the shares higher. So we found them to be good players from that point of view. Greg, would you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's well said. I think they're, not overly promotional would be the key. They knew kind of that we, posed some pretty tough questions when we were doing due diligence with them. And I think that they took things very carefully. They thought through them, and they gave you both the good and the bad, the upside. They know that, I'd say also they kind of know Bitcoin's going to be volatile over the long run. So they didn't seem like they were really shying away from that. That reality.
I think it's a seasoned management team as it comes to interacting with the capital markets. Yeah. So is your question really, can the Bitcoin treasury business exist without the software business? And I think it can. I think you see that in the shares, right? In reviewing price targets and valuation analysis across the street, the software business is usually valued around $3, $4, $5 per share. And it's not really pertinent to analysts' bull thesis on the stock, or to investors' bull thesis on the stock, because there's so much valuation attributed to the treasury side of the business. And I think this is probably the point you were trying to make, which is that they may have outgrown the software business at a certain level, right? And their ability to execute in these capital markets transactions should create, call it like a virtuous cycle, right? A self-fulfilling flywheel. But that's so long that as long as it can maintain its MNAV premium. right? Without that MNAV premium, it won't be able to access the capital markets. But so far, it seems that there's more than enough demand for its various products, and it should be able to continue doing this. Oh, current advice? I mean, we have a positive rating on the stock. We buy on the stock. We like the strategy, and we recommend buying shares. Yeah, and publicly have done so for quite some time. Our target price is currently $466. It, however, was marked to market several weeks ago at a considerably lower Bitcoin price. So at today's prices, that would be accretive to a published target. So I think we have it at about $240 is the floor value for the Bitcoin holdings per share, right? $239. Yeah, per share.
Thank
Great.
you very much.
Thank you very much.